In the vast silence of Earth's orbital defense station, Dr. Maya Patel's footsteps echoed through corridors that hadn't known human presence for centuries. Her dark eyes reflected the soft blue glow of holographic displays that lined the walls, each one monitoring different sectors of space. She was the guardian, the one human chosen to remain awake while billions of her kind slept in preservation chambers scattered throughout the solar system. The station's companion, Atlas, manifested as a subtle pattern of light that followed her movements. Dr. Patel, the Arcturian vessels have crossed the Kuiper Belt threshold. Their energy signatures match our previous observations. Maya nodded, her silver-streaked black hair catching the light as she moved to the central command sphere. "Show me their approach vector, Atlas." The air around her filled with a three-dimensional map of the solar system, dozens of red dots representing the alien fleet's advance. The Arcturian collective had been probing Earth's defenses for months now, each encounter revealing only what Maya wanted them to see. They believed they were studying an automated defense network, a remnant of a civilization that had either perished or abandoned their homeworld. If only they knew they were playing chess against a grandmaster who could see 20 moves ahead. "Their diplomatic channels are active," Atlas announced. "They're broadcasting in 300 different languages. Rather impressive, actually." Maya allowed herself a small smile. "But not in any of humanity's current languages, I assume." "Correct. Their linguistic database appears to stop at 21st century Earth languages." The first alien message flooded the command sphere's speakers. "To the autonomous defense systems of Sol 3, we seek peaceful dialogue with your creators or their designated representatives." Maya's fingers danced through the holographic interface, activating a carefully prepared response protocol. "Let's give them something to think about, Atlas. Execute defense pattern Echo 7. Across the void of space, humanity's sleeping strength stirred. Orbital platforms that had appeared dormant for centuries suddenly hummed with energy. Defensive satellites reoriented themselves with precision that made the watching alien fleet's tactical officers gasp in admiration and fear. The response Maya sent was calculated to both intrigue and unsettle. "Greetings, Arcturian Collective. Your presence has been monitored since you entered the Oort cloud. This automated defense network is authorized to engage in limited diplomatic exchange. Be advised that any hostile action will result in an appropriate response." Through the station's sensors, Maya watched the alien fleet's reaction. Their ship's energy signatures fluctuated in what Atlas interpreted as surprise. They hadn't expected such a precise and measured response from what they assumed was merely a sophisticated computer system. "Dr. Patel." Atlas's voice carried a note of amusement. "They're attempting to probe our secondary defense grid. Should we show them why that's a bad idea?" Maya leaned back in her command chair, considering. Each interaction with the collective was a careful dance, revealing enough to keep them cautious but not enough to make them desperate. Let them trip the outer warning systems. Sometimes the best lesson is one they think they've discovered themselves. The alien probe struck an invisible barrier at the edge of the asteroid belt. Instead of the violent response they might have expected, they received a message that would keep their xenoanthropologists arguing for weeks. "Unauthorized access detected. Thank you for subscribing to Earth's Historical Defense Systems Quarterly. Did you know that human military doctrine once included a strategy called letting them dig their own grave?" Reply, stop to unsubscribe. In the command sphere, Maya watched as the alien fleet recoiled in confusion. Their communications erupted in a cascade of urgent exchanges, trying to decipher whether the message was a threat, a joke, or something else entirely. "They're retreating to the Kuiper Belt," Atlas reported. And, yes, 3 of their vessels just attempted to reply, "Stop." Maya laughed for the first time in what felt like centuries. "Send them a smiley face emoji. The historical kind." As the alien fleet withdrew to a safer distance, Maya's thoughts turned to the billions of sleeping humans scattered across the solar system. One day, when the time was right, they would awaken to a galaxy that had learned to fear and respect humanity's ingenuity. But for now, she had to keep playing this game of shadows and whispers, of power hidden beneath the appearance of automation. At last, she said, rising from her chair, begin analyzing their probe's technical specifications. I want to know everything about how they think, how they fight, and most importantly, how they run when scared. Already compiling the data, Dr. Patel. Would you like me to update the awakening timeline calculations based on this encounter? Maya paused at the edge of the command sphere, looking out at the distant stars where humanity's children slept in their scattered havens. Yes, and Atlas. Add a note to the records. The Arcturian collective has no idea that they're about to become a footnote in human history's greatest awakening. The A's response was lost in the quiet hum of the station's systems, as humanity's guardian continued her lonely watch, waiting for the perfect moment to wake a sleeping giant. Admiral Kethrix of the Arcturian collective stood before the Strategic Council, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that betrayed his agitation. The chamber's organic crystal architecture pulsed with the collected anxiety of the assembled leaders as they reviewed the latest encounters with Earth's defense systems. Distinguished council members, Kethrix began, his crystalline resonance carefully modulated. What we initially dismissed as a primitive automated defense grid has demonstrated capabilities that defy our understanding. Our latest probe's encounter has revealed patterns that suggest intelligence. The chamber's illumination dimmed as a holographic replay materialized, showing their probe's interaction with Earth's defensive barrier. The council watched in silence as their advanced scanning beam was not only blocked but reflected back with a precision that spoke of technological mastery far beyond their estimates. Back at Earth's orbital station, Dr. Maya Patel observed the Arcturian Council meeting through Atlas's quantum infiltration feeds. They're finally starting to ask the right questions, she murmured, adjusting the station's passive scanners to better analyze the aliens' emotional signatures. Indeed, Atlas responded, its presence manifesting as a subtle shift in the station's ambient lighting. Their neural patterns suggest a fascinating mix of fear and intellectual curiosity. The Admiral, in particular, seems rather obsessed with understanding our capabilities. Maya's fingers traced patterns through the holographic interface, initiating the next phase of their carefully orchestrated revelation. Then let's give the Admiral something new to obsess about. Activate the Jupiter defense ring. Across the vast distance of space, dormant structures within Jupiter's atmosphere stirred to life. The gas giant's storms began to move in unnatural patterns, forming what appeared to be massive geometric shapes, visible even from the Arcturian observation posts. In the council chamber, alarms blared as their sensors detected the activation. Impossible, one of the council members whispered, their crystalline form vibrating with shock. They'd weaponized a gas giant. Admiral Kethrix moved closer to the holographic display, his fascination evident in the rapid shifts of his internal light patterns. Not weaponized, he corrected, colonized. These patterns suggest they've built entire cities within Jupiter's atmosphere. The energy readings are astronomical. Maya allowed herself a small smile as she watched their reactions. The Jupiter defense ring was one of humanity's greatest achievements, a network of city-sized stations suspended within the gas giant's perpetual storms, using the planet's own magnetic field as both shield and power source. Dr. Patel. Atlas interrupted her thoughts. The collective is attempting to establish a more direct form of communication. They're broadcasting on frequencies we haven't seen them use before. Show me, Maya commanded, and the message materialized before her. To the Earth Defense Intelligence, your demonstrations of power are acknowledged. We seek to understand. Are you truly automated, or is there more to your nature than we have assumed? We offer exchange of knowledge. Maya considered her response carefully. Each word would be analyzed, debated, and scrutinized by the collective's best minds. Atlas, prepare for response protocol Sigma 9. Let's show them what happens when they ask dangerous questions. The response that reached the Arcturian Council was elegantly simple. Query acknowledged. Initiating educational protocol. Did you know that humanity once had a saying? Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. We invite you to consider which part of that equation you currently represent. The council chamber erupted into chaos as the implications sank in. Some members insisted on immediate withdrawal, while others demanded more aggressive investigation. Admiral Cathrix remained silent, his crystalline form pulsing with deep thought. "There's something they're not telling us," he finally announced, silencing the chamber. "These responses, they're too perfect, too calculated. Each demonstration of power seems designed not just to warn us, but to teach us." In her command sphere, Maya nodded approvingly. "He's sharper than the others, Atlas. Mark him for priority observation." "Already done," the AI confirmed. "Should we proceed with the next phase of the Revelation Protocol?" Maya's eyes tracked the movement of the Arcturian ships as they adjusted their positions, maintaining what they considered a safe distance from Jupiter. "Not yet. Let them stew in their uncertainty for a while. Sometimes the most effective weapon is imagination. Let them wonder what else we might be capable of." She stood, stretching muscles stiff from hours of observation. "Begin preliminary power-up sequences for the Mars defense grid. Don't activate anything yet, but let them detect just enough energy fluctuations to keep them guessing." As she walked the silent corridors of her orbital watch station, Maya reflected on the billions of sleeping humans scattered throughout the solar system. Soon, they would need to begin the awakening. The Arcturian collective's growing curiosity ensured that, but timing would be everything. "At last," she called out, "add a new entry to the awakening criteria matrix. When the enemy believes they have discovered our greatest secret, show them it was merely our first line of defense." The AI's response echoed through the station. Entry added, "Dr. Patel, shall I begin calculating probable reaction patterns for the revelation of human survival?" Maya's laugh carried a hint of anticipation. "Oh yes, after all, we wouldn't want to disappoint Admiral Cathrix's growing suspicions. When humanity finally wakes up, I want the galaxy to remember this as the moment they realized they had been playing chess against grandmasters while thinking they were testing a computer." The preservation chamber hummed to life for the first time in centuries. Through the frosted glass, a figure began to stir. Commander James Chen, Earth's former strategic operations chief. Maya watched the revival process with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. After centuries of being humanity's sole guardian, she was about to have company. "Vital signs stable," Atlas reported, its voice carrying an unusual note of excitement. "Neural patterns indicate successful preservation. No signs of cognitive degradation." In the Arcturian fleet, Admiral Cathrix's latest report to the Council had sparked unprecedented debate. Their deep space sensors had detected energy signatures from Mars that defied their understanding of physics. The Council chamber's crystalline walls pulsed with agitated light as the implications were discussed. "These readings suggest they're manipulating quantum fields on a planetary scale," Cathrix explained, his form shimming with barely contained excitement. "The entire surface of Mars appears to be phase-shifting between different quantum states." What the Arcturians detected was actually the awakening of humanity's Mars Base Alpha, the largest of the preservation facilities. Maya had initiated the power-up sequence days ago, knowing the energy signatures would be impossible to hide. Better to let them see it and draw their own conclusions. Commander Chen's eyes fluttered open, taking in his surroundings with military precision. "Dr. Patel," he said, voice rough from centuries of disuse, "your message said it was urgent. How bad is it?" Maya helped him from the chamber, supporting him as his legs remembered their purpose. "The Arcturian collective has been probing our defenses for months. They think they're dealing with an automated system, but they're getting suspicious. I need your expertise for what comes next." In the command sphere, Atlas displayed the latest intelligence. The Arcturian fleet had grown to include their most advanced research vessels, all focused on studying Earth's defensive capabilities. But it was their latest discovery that had Maya worried. They found the Luna archives. she explained to Chen as he studied the holographic displays. Their archaeological teams are attempting to decode our historical records. Chen's expression darkened. The war archives. That could complicate things. The Luna archives contained humanity's complete military history. Every war, every innovation, every triumph and tragedy that had shaped their species. Maya had deliberately left them lightly guarded, knowing their discovery was inevitable. In the Arcturian research vessel, Archaeologist Vexteri stared at the translated texts with growing horror. "Admiral," she transmitted to Kethrix, "these records, they're not technical specifications. They're stories. Their entire military history, preserved in detail. And, sir, they're terrifying." Kethrix absorbed the reports with growing unease. Tales of human warfare painted a picture of a species that never stopped innovating, never accepted impossible odds, and never ever surrendered. "Have you found any indication of where they went?" he asked. "That's just it, sir," Vexteri replied, her transmission carrying notes of confusion. The records stop abruptly, with something called the Preservation Initiative. The last entry simply states, "We will sleep until needed." Back in Earth's orbital station, Commander Chen finished reviewing the situation. "You've played this perfectly, Maya. Let me guess. You're planning to wake the rest of command staff next." Maya nodded, pulling up the locations of other preservation chambers scattered throughout the solar system, starting with Admiral Helena Rodriguez and Dr. Marcus Webb. "We'll need Helena's tactical expertise and Marcus's knowledge of the preservation systems." "Dr. Patel," Atlas interrupted, "the Arcturians are broadcasting again. This time, on all frequencies." The message that filled the command sphere carried an edge of desperation. "To Earth's defense intelligence, we have accessed your historical records. We know your creators did not perish. We know they sleep. We seek dialogue before they wake, to prevent unnecessary conflict." Chen laughed, a sound that echoed through the station's corridors. "They think they're negotiating with an AI, even after finding the archives. That's the beauty of it." Maya smiled. "They believe they're being clever, trying to establish diplomatic relations before dealing with the actual human race. They have no idea they've been talking to a real human all along." She turned to the communications array, composing her response with careful deliberation. "Your access to the Luna archives has been noted. Query: in your analysis of human history, did you encounter the concept of opening Pandora's box? Consider this. What you have discovered is merely the prologue. The true story is about to begin." The message sent ripples through the Arcturian fleet. In his command chamber, Admiral Kethrix felt his crystalline form vibrate with an emotion his species rarely experienced: primal fear. "Dr. Patel," Atlas announced, "preservation chambers across the system are reporting ready status. Shall I begin the synchronized revival sequence?" Maya looked at Chen, who nodded grimly. "Do it," she commanded. "It's time to show the galaxy that humanity never left. We just needed a little beauty sleep." Throughout the solar system, hidden bases beneath the surfaces of moons, asteroids, and planets hummed to life. Millions of preservation chambers began their awakening cycles. Humanity's greatest military minds, scientists, and leaders would soon open their eyes to a galaxy that had forgotten to fear them. And in the depths of space, the Arcturian collective was about to learn why some sleeping giants should never be awakened. Admiral Helena Rodriguez stood at the orbital station's main viewport, her dark eyes reflecting the distant flares of the Arcturian fleet's weapons testing. After 3 centuries in preservation, she still moved with the calculated grace of Earth's most decorated fleet commander. Behind her, Dr. Marcus Webb's fingers danced across holographic displays, monitoring the awakening progress across the solar system. "They're preparing for a major offensive," Helena observed, her voice carrying the weight of countless battles. "Kethrix thinks if he strikes hard enough, fast enough, he can disable our defenses before the sleepers wake." Maya nodded, watching real-time tactical displays showing the Arcturian fleet's movements. They had gathered their largest battle group yet, over 300 ships, including their feared planet-killer-class vessels. They still think they're fighting an automated defense system. That's about to change. In his flagship, Admiral Kithrix reviewed the battle plan one final time. The crystalline walls of his command center reflected the nervous energy of his crew as they prepared for what they believed would be a decisive strike. Their strategy was bold: a simultaneous attack on every major defense installation they'd identified, overwhelming Earth's supposedly automated responses with sheer force. "All battle groups report ready," his tactical officer announced. "The quantum disruption fields are at full power. Their defense AI won't be able to coordinate responses effectively." Thrix's form pulsed with determination. "Begin the attack. Let's end this before their sleeping masters can." The Admiral's words cut off as new energy signatures bloomed across their sensor displays. Massive structures were emerging from beneath the surface of Mars, Venus, and several of Jupiter's moons. Ships, hundreds of them, rising from hidden bays that had been undetectable moments before. On Earth's orbital station, Commander Chen allowed himself a grim smile as he watched the Arcturians' formation falter. Tactical surprise achieved. "Admiral Rodriguez, I believe this is your specialty." Helena stepped forward, her presence filling the command sphere. "Atlas, broadcast on all frequencies, my voice only." She paused, savoring the moment. "Attention, Arcturian battle fleet. This is Admiral Helena Rodriguez of the United Earth Defense Force. I must commend you on your diligence in testing our automated systems. However, class is now over." The response from the Arcturian fleet was immediate, a cascade of confused communications and emergency signals as they realized they weren't facing computer-controlled defenses anymore. Kithrix watched in growing horror as massive human warships took up strategic positions around his fleet, their designs unlike anything in their historical records. "Impossible," his tactical officer whispered. "Those ships, they're not using any known form of propulsion. The energy readings suggest they're manipulating space-time itself." Maya's voice joined the broadcast, carrying a hint of amusement. "Admiral Kithrix, I believe formal introductions are in order. I'm Dr. Maya Patel, Earth's Guardian. We've been chatting for months, though you thought you were talking to an AI. I hope you'll forgive the deception. It was necessary to evaluate your intentions." In the Arcturian flagship's command center, Kithrix's crystalline form pulsed with the realization of just how thoroughly they had been outmaneuvered. Every probe, every scan, every interaction had been a test, not of Earth's defenses, but of the Arcturian collective itself. "Dr. Webb," Maya called out. "Status of the awakening." Marcus looked up from his displays, eyes bright with excitement. 97% of military command staff are now active. Science division is at 85%. The civilian preservation chambers are ready to begin their sequences on your mark. Through the quantum communications network, reports flooded in from across the solar system. Hidden bases that had slumbered for centuries were now alive with activity. Humanity's finest minds, their scientists, strategists, and leaders, were returning to consciousness, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy might present. Admiral Rodriguez's voice carried across space once more. "Admiral Kithrix, I'm transmitting coordinates for a proper diplomatic meeting. I believe it's time we discussed humanity's place in the galaxy. As we are, not as you assumed us to be." The Arcturian admiral stared at the coordinates, recognizing them as a space station orbiting Earth's moon, one that hadn't existed an hour ago. "How?" he began. "Quantum engineering," Maya explained, her voice carrying a teacher's patience. "What you thought were our greatest achievements were merely our backup systems. The real demonstrations of human capability are about to begin." Commander Chen stepped forward. "Dr. Patel, long-range sensors are detecting additional Arcturian fleets approaching from multiple vectors. It seems the collective is very interested in their admiral's predicament." Maya shared a look with Admiral Rodriguez, who nodded in understanding. "Perfect timing," Maya replied. At last, initiate the final phase of the awakening. Let's show our guests why humanity chose to sleep not out of weakness, but because we needed worthy challenges to face when we awoke. Throughout the solar system, massive structures began to emerge from their quantum shadows. Research stations, shipyards, and cities that had existed out of phase with normal space-time shimmered into view. This wasn't just a military awakening. It was the revival of an entire civilization that had hidden itself away, waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. And as the Arcturian admiral watched this display of power and technology far beyond his comprehension, he finally understood the true meaning behind all those playful messages and warnings. They hadn't been dealing with humanity's caretaker systems. They had been playing chess with grandmasters who saw the entire board, every move, from the very beginning. The game was over before it had truly begun, and a new chapter in galactic history was about to unfold. The lunar diplomatic station gleamed like a jewel against the stark backdrop of space, its quantum-engineered architecture defying the Arcturians' understanding of physical laws. Inside the Grand Assembly Chamber, Admiral Kethrix's crystalline form reflected the subtle lights as he faced the assembled human leadership. Maya stood at the central podium, no longer just a guardian but humanity's chief diplomat in this historic moment. Admiral Rodriguez and Commander Chen flanked her, while Dr. Webb managed the station's advanced systems. Representatives from the Arcturian Collective's ruling council hovered nervously in their designated area, their crystalline bodies shimmering with barely contained anxiety. "Let me tell you a story," Maya began, her voice carrying easily through the chamber's perfect acoustics. 3 centuries ago, humanity reached a crossroads. We had mastered our solar system, developed technologies that could reshape reality itself, and were ready to expand into the stars. But we saw something in our long-range quantum observations that gave us pause. She gestured, and the chamber filled with holographic representations of various alien civilizations, including the Arcturians. We saw great potential in the galaxy's younger races, but also great fear that would lead to preemptive strikes against any civilization that appeared too powerful, too advanced. Kethrix's form pulsed with realization. "So you hid, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom," Admiral Rodriguez completed. "We chose to sleep, to wait, to watch. We left our automated systems as a first line of defense, yes, but more importantly as a way to evaluate how other civilizations would react to discovering us." In orbit around Earth, the combined fleets of humanity and the Arcturian Collective hung in space, a visual representation of the power balance shifting in real time. More human ships continued to emerge from their quantum storage facilities, each one displaying capabilities that made the Arcturians' most advanced vessels look primitive in comparison. "Your response to finding our defensive grid was telling," Commander Chen added, his expression stern but not unkind. "You didn't immediately attack. You studied, you probed, you tried to understand. Even when you prepared for military action, it was with reluctance." The Arcturian Council representatives shifted uncomfortably. One of them spoke, their crystalline resonance translated perfectly by the station's systems. "You tested us. We tested everyone," Maya confirmed. "For 300 years, I monitored every civilization that approached our solar system. Most turned away at the first sign of our defenses. Some attacked immediately and were driven off by our automated responses. But you showed curiosity, respect, even fear, yes, but not blind panic." Dr. Webb's voice carried from his control station. "The final preservation chambers are now active. Global population revival stands at 100%. He paused, checking another reading. "And our long-range sensors detect at least 15 more Arcturian battle groups approaching the system." Maya smiled. "Perfect timing. Admiral Kethrix, I believe your reinforcements are about to witness something unprecedented." She nodded to Webb. "Show them." Throughout the solar system, massive structures began to phase into normal spacetime. Space stations larger than cities, shipyards that could construct vessels capable of reshaping planets, research facilities that housed technology centuries beyond anything the Arcturians had imagined. But most impressively, entire habitats emerged from quantum storage, the true homes of humanity, hidden away until this moment. This, Maya gestured to the spectacular display visible through the station's windows, is humanity. Not just our military might or our technological achievements, but our civilization in its entirety. We slept not because we had to, but because we chose to give the galaxy time to prepare for our emergence. Admiral Rodriguez stepped forward. The question now, Admiral Kithrix, is what happens next. Your collective stands at a crossroads similar to the one we faced centuries ago. You can choose fear, or you can choose something more interesting. Kithrix's crystalline form pulsed with colors that indicated deep thought. Finally, he spoke. When we first detected your defense grid, we thought we had found a sleeping giant. Then we believed we had found an advanced AI protecting its creators. Now we realize we had not even begun to understand the scale of what we were dealing with. He turned to face the Arcturian Council representatives. Honored Council, I recommend we take this opportunity to establish diplomatic relations with humanity. Not out of fear, though I freely admit they are terrifying, but because any species capable of this level of planning, patience, and power is one we want as friends rather than enemies. Maya's smile widened. A wise choice, and perfectly timed. At last, show them the latest long-range scans. The chamber filled with new holographic displays showing distant galaxy clusters. We didn't just sleep to wait for the younger races to mature, Maya explained. We were preparing for something bigger. There are threats coming from beyond the galaxy's edge, threats that will require all of us working together to face. The assembled aliens stared at the scans, their forms pulsing with a mix of fear and fascination at what they showed. Kithrix moved closer to the display, his scientific curiosity overcoming his diplomatic reserve. These readings, they're unlike anything we've seen. Exactly, Commander Chen said, which is why humanity chose this moment to wake up. We needed allies who could face the unknown without panic, who could see beyond their fear to grasp the bigger picture. Admiral Rodriguez nodded to Maya, who activated the station's quantum communication array. Her voice carried not just through the chamber, but to every ship in both fleets. Today marks the beginning of a new era in galactic history. Humanity has awakened not to conquer, but to protect. Not to dominate, but to guide. The question is, who will join us? Kithrix's response was immediate, his crystalline form glowing with determination. The Arcturian collective stands ready. As representatives from both civilizations began the work of forging their new alliance, Maya looked out at the vast display of human achievement surrounding them. After centuries of solitary vigilance, she had helped orchestrate not just humanity's reemergence, but perhaps the galaxy's best hope for survival against the challenges to come. The final message sent to the approaching Arcturian reinforcements was simple: welcome to humanity's dawn. The real adventure is just beginning.